Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think it's something we want to be prepared and scout well and all of those types of things. I've always believed it's how we play, not who we play, and that's definitely the case right now for sure.
I haven't been here, but I've heard some of the messaging. Do you feel it's sunk in with the players?
We'll see. I think we had a good practice yesterday, and there's a lot that we want to improve on and be better at. They want to be good. There's no question about that. And you have to really be on it. Like, I'll be honest, in all the years I've done this, like, I've never seen like a stretch like this. And I don't know that there's ever been a conference like this, including our own conference, in terms of talent, age, experience. Like, I just saw like a top 100 prospects, college prospects list, and it's like all from our league, you know what I mean? And all from our direct opponents that we've played and will play, when you start looking at these guys, Tennessee, Texas A&M. And so it just requires your undivided attention, and it requires your best to be able to perform at a high level. And so we have good players, and we'll try to keep moving them in that direction.
The phones thing, was that just a clubhouse distraction?
We need everything that they have while they're here to improve and prepare us to win, and that's really all that it's about.
Are there any other sort of, like, it's hard to describe what it is exactly, but structural things that you guys have done outside of just the phones?
Yeah, it's just all of it is built around undivided attention towards improving as a player and helping our team win. Like, once the game starts, it's like you're in the dugout. You know what I mean? There's that kind of stuff. The locker room, the players' lounge, no training room unless the trainer is up there for like a medical evaluation or preparing, the next guy. Like, we need everybody totally invested in what's going on, and it's not like any type of punishment. It's just trying to elevate what we're doing, and elevating what you're doing sometimes is different with different teams. Sometimes pulling some of that stuff back is the right way to go. That's not where we're at today. So it's just to get everything focused and directed where it needs to be, which is the play. And there's a lot of things with practice, like in terms of demand, reward, consequence for performance, and pulling more out of them to be at their best. And so I'm not into like the drama and messaging. That's not what it's about. It's literally about decisions to move the focus where it needs to be.
So a lot of it's just eliminating distractions, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and we all, it's not just like 18 to 21 year olds or LSU baseball players. It's like, when, at least for me, when I'm single-minded of what I'm doing, that's when I function at the highest possible level. And I think we all benefit from that at times. And, there are some challenges, unique challenges with, playing here that if you're not mindful of them, they can be very difficult for some of our young people. And so we want to make sure that those don't get in the way of what we really want them to do, which is to play at their potential.
what have you seen that allows you to, I guess what I was going to ask is, what have you seen that has convinced you that, taking away those distractions is the right move for this team in particular?
I don't think we're doing, I don't think this is going to be like the answer or some aha moment. Like, that's like somebody hitting a line drive back up the middle with the bases loaded, and splitting the gaps, like Jordan Thompson did against Tennessee last year. This is when you have a lead, and we've just scored and extended the lead, going 1, 2, 3, and putting pressure on the opponent dugout. To get to that point, like, we need more from everybody, coaches included. I don't want them on their phone unless they're talking to a player that's going to help make LSU baseball a whole lot better. Like, other than that, there's no reason for them, to, as an example, like, this is required out of everybody. Practice being better, and I take a lot of pride in practice and training. I think is, you guys would see if you've been out here and evaluated that. And it's just some shifts, and luckily, maybe there's never been tough times at this place. Like, I've had tough times. You know what I mean? I've been through where you've lost a couple weekends in a row or tough stretches. And so the key is, what do you do to just get to the next game and just make it about what's on the field? Okay, so we're trying to help the players do those things.
You mentioned you wanted to see some changes. Part of that distraction thing and the focus thing is with the coaches as well. Like, what have you done specifically, just you, in terms of like adjustments you want to make, and just with your process and how you coach these guys?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think with like the game prep, like at least is what I do, that doesn't change a lot. I think we shifted some things this week with the players individually. Post practice yesterday, like after I saw you, I came back here and met with some guys individually, all on really specific baseball things that can help them be better, and making sure that communication is clear. It doesn't matter what me or any of my coaches know. It's how you translate it to the players so they can use it on the field as skill to help the team win. Like, that's what matters. And if we're not doing that, what I know or what I've done doesn't matter. It's like, okay, how are we helping this team, get to the point where they can take the preparation and use it in the game as skill to help the team win, and then have some perspective that baseball is difficult at times. You know what I mean? And it's not we want to control everything that we can control, so that you can kind of go out on the field and like let it rip. And like yesterday's practice, we scrimmaged. Like, I haven't had a full-on inter-squad game here in the middle of SEC play since I've been the coach, and they did a great job yesterday. I would have liked to have seen a lot of that on Monday night. And so it's those type of shifts to get that out of them when it's needed is really all we're trying to do.
When you kind of look at the bullpen and assess things, just how much of it is it, do you want to get some of these younger guys involved? Do you want to get some of those arms in the mix this weekend?
100%. And we're having to work our way through that. And, we've seen some good and some struggle from just about everybody on the pitching staff. And I don't think there is a lack of talent to execute. I don't. Like, you won't convince me of that. I have a great faith in the pitchers that we have on the pitching staff to be able to collect outs. And, at times last weekend they did that. For instance, the game's 4-3 on Thursday against Hagen Smith. And we actually scored a run in the top of the 9th inning. So if we could have got a 0 in the 8th, now we're in extra innings, like 2 of those 3 games. But it's not just the pitchers. Like in Friday's game, we were ahead 2-0. And then we went out and Luke had an inning he battled through and got a 0. And then we came out and went 3 up, 3 down on 9 pitches. But one of those balls was smashed. It was hit like 112 miles an hour. It was hit right at somebody. But then you're asking a pitcher against a good lineup on the road in a hostile environment the guy's barely, taking a sip of Gatorade. And then we gave up 3 runs. And so it's an all-encompassing type thing. But, getting the personnel right, I was very happy with where we were, through 2 games there. Then Saturday, we get a lead. Again, we extend a lead. And then we have 2 outs and 2 strikes, and we can't get off the field. And that's not going to win, and yet the opponent makes it really hard. Those guys really compete in their at-bats, and this will be no different, this weekend. So I don't think it's like necessarily just this guy over this guy. It's all of them just being a little bit better. And that's what gives me hope. It's because we have a lot of room for growth, and that's the number 1 team that we played, who we have a ton of respect for, on the road, great home field environment. There's something to go get for our players.
This might be a simple question, but just how close or how far away do you think you are to unlocking kind of what this team can do?
I think it's day to day, and that's not an attack on our players. It's like that's the challenge we're going through with, everybody is really good. Like, you could see 6 teams from the SEC in Omaha this year, and I'd be more surprised if there wasn't, is how I would say that. And so, back to the focus, attention, execution, like that's where we have to put all our eggs in that basket. And I'm comfortable with that because that's how I've always operated. It's just, there's not a lot of margin for error.
I think the perspective thing is interesting to me because in some regards there's guys that have been in some of these fires, but on the other side it's new for a lot
No
of
doubt.
people, right? So how do you balance those? I mean, you have your expectations and everybody else has their outside expectations. Are you able to really, like you say, boil it down to the play on the field?
Have to, yeah. And that's what I'm trying to help these guys do. Trying to think of a good example, like a young player. I'll just use that situation I just gave up. A young player comes up, and the first guy went out on 2 pitches. He gets in a hitter's count, gets the pitch that he's looking for, and puts a good swing on it and smashes it. They might just go back to like, oh, I hit it hard right at somebody, but they might not see the full ramifications of I just hung Luke Holman out to dry. You know what I mean? And so making sure, like whatever you want to call it, the winning baseball, the complimentary baseball, the smallest details are really taken care of. That's super important. Like for instance, like if we gave a player a tape, and they might, last year, like no matter who it was, no, go, okay, I got it. Well, there was a lot of college at bats under those guys. Like this year, they might look at me like a little bit longer, like, and might not quite understand, like piecing together what I just said. And you can't get through that until you play through it. And that's baseball. It's just super experiential, and it's not for a lack of want to, but yeah, there's a lot more ground that we have to cover or gain to get to that point where it's like, go. And really, that's all I want them to do when we get to game day. So, where we've had success this year, and it's been, 10 days, 2 weeks, simplifying some things has really helped, and that's really what we're trying to do.
Have you made a decision yet on the starting pitching rotation? So we can...
I have, but we're not going to announce it because I don't know what Vanderbilt's doing, and I understand. I mean, they had a doubleheader on Sunday like 2 weeks ago, and these Thursday things, it may seem not a big deal, but it's a big deal, man. I mean, if one of those 2 guys go down because we pitched them too early, it's going to get real hard. It's already really hard, and I'm not about to do that. Not to say that we won't, but I need a full evaluation of today, and then we'll set it, I mean, as early as we have to, but probably not any earlier than that. No gamesmanship, just looking out for the players.
Is there somebody that you can use as a model throughout all this? Somebody that's kind of standing out and doing it the right way?
I think there's parts of all of them. That's poise. You really need poise in these battles that we have. I point to Luke Holman. You know what I mean? You really need competitiveness. Facing 99-mile-an-hour guys with good sliders. I point to Tommy White. And those guys are talented. But again, back to what I just said, they've played through some of this, had success with it, and therefore, operate with confidence. And they're not the only ones. Like, I mean, in terms of at-bats, Michael Braswell has done a great job in SEC play. Not a good job, a great job. And, I'm proud of him for that and the improvements that he's made. And I think if other guys were maybe playing a little bit better, that might even highlight that a little bit more. And so, we had a meeting after the game, a staff meeting Monday night or early Tuesday morning after the game, and there was something that was said that was really profound, that if your best players play good, a lot of the issues go away. And that's frankly what we need. We need our best players to play good if we're going to beat any of these teams that are on our schedule right now.
How do you sort of maintain a positive environment when things seem to be falling apart from the outside in a situation like this?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a part of both, and I know which one doesn't work. I mean, then it's educating them on understanding the difference between accountability and negativity, because those are two completely different things. And I won't do it. It's not in my nature to, be super negative, but they have to have enough mental strength or toughness to understand the difference between accountability and negativity, and discipline for the sake of improvement versus punishment. There's, to me, and we kind of had a similar discussion about this, is like, there's no alternative, it's my job to model what I want them to do. And if they go negative or distracted or skeptical, good luck in the box, against, several pitchers that we face that are going to pitch in the major league someday. Or good luck throwing a pitch with conviction that's going to get a really good hitter out. So if I don't do that, I can't expect any player on our team to do that. And so to me, it's like two words, like there's no option. There's no other option to do it a different way. And I've seen coaches do it that way. And, I could do that and, turn into a completely different person, and it might work for 2 weeks. The problem is when you hit adversity again, which is possible, maybe even likely, then you have nowhere to go, if that makes sense. And picking your spots and we're at one of those right now, to be very clear. Therefore, elevating the accountability, elevating the ownership, competitiveness, like literally everything is the only way to go.
How open are you to taking suggestions from not just other coaches but other players about, ways to improve the team, techniques that you guys could use, like stuff like that, maybe with their own games or with the team overall?
Well, I have a secretary that sits in front of my door, basically, and they don't need to ask if I'm available to walk in there. My house is 7 minutes from this place for a reason, you know what I mean? So I'm as open as anybody, and whether that's players and coaches, and I want to win. Like, I would way rather win than be right. So I guess that's a good way to say it.
Has that happened a bit over the last week or so? Like, people coming up with suggestions, ideas, whether it's coaches or even players?
Well, I mean, I challenge my coaches to do that. That's if they're not needed if they don't. You know what I mean? Like, there's no point in them being here if they don't. As far as the players, I'm a pretty good listener, and usually what I do is draw back on experience, and I'm always going to be honest with them, and this is a good group of guys, and they care deeply, and they want to get it right, both individually and collectively, and I think they will. I really do. It's a matter of it's just not going to be easy. Like I said, I mean, we're going through a stretch where after this weekend we'll have played 4 teams in our conference schedule that are all Omaha caliber teams, and you're going to get challenged. Therefore, to come out on top of those, there's very little margin for error. Therefore, everything has to be done perfectly, and so we're just going to keep working toward that, even though that's the perfection part's totally unattainable.
Has anyone stepped up as, I guess, more of a vocal leader and less of a lead by example sort of way?
I've seen spots, I think, I'm going to continue to challenge the effectiveness of it, though, you know what I mean? And, I'm not going to give anybody high marks at this point, but a lot of guys are trying, and I expect them to continue to, until whatever our last game is, in Omaha or Hoover or wherever, that's how you do it, and it's not attractive or what anybody wants to hear, but like the only way I know how to get to the other side of it is to go right through it, and that's in all phases. It's baseball, leadership, team dynamic, and you can be a part of the solution we're not. And the cool thing about this place is like it's a narrow gate, you know, to get into the program. Like not everybody just gets let in. So if you're here, you have to add something, you know, both as a player and as a person.
Is there maybe a benefit to an unplanned day off or doing something besides
Well,
practicing?
I would have said that. But we didn't play very good on Monday. And again, I'm not going to go back to Monday anymore, but that was after a day off. And, you know, one of my staff members walked in and goes, "Hey, how was your Easter egg?" I said, "Terrible." I mean, coming off that series, I mean, I don't have another answer for you. You know, and my hope was that maybe just a day would help, you know, but it didn't, so we won't do that way. And you have to know your team, you know, and I really wanted to try to give them the benefit of the doubt going into Monday. And, you know, don't want to over message, over talk, so it loses its effectiveness, but I'd rather lose doing it that way than, you know, until we have a level of consistency that is elite, I will never do that. And that's not even in my nature anyway. So I think they'll be excited to play this week. And this is awesome. Like I said, I mean, you know, I know we're the champs, but in my mind, you always work like you're number two. And we clearly are right now. But Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Florida, Tennessee, like these are awesome opportunities. Like this is like, you know, you turn on that 2:30 football game at CBS, you know, every Saturday. Like that's what we're doing every weekend, and we turn the dial for a lot of other people as well. And why all this is important also is like when you have the type of success that we had last year, even early this year. I mean, I think 14 or 15-1 at one point. You know, we're getting everybody's best, and so like we have to be like 50% better ourselves just to match that. And yeah, like that's a great program we just played last weekend. This is a great program. When they beat us, it's very meaningful. I mean, you don't have to look hard to find that. It's really meaningful, and so we have to have our ducks in a row and be able to withstand that.
Have you noticed anything defensively? Anything
You know, we did not play good the other night. You know, it's like I don't think that the fundamentals necessarily have been bad. I do know that we haven't pitched good enough that when we make a mistake, it really magnifies the mistake. And we had a little bit of that in 22, and we got better as the year goes on. We went on. I don't think we're nearly where we were poor defense as we were then. However, until we pitch better and score more, we really got to be good in that part of the game. And I think two of the last three games, you know, a defensive mistake has really hurt us. You know, but I think they've been okay, you know, to this point in time. But it really, all those things get magnified when you're struggling. You know, if we win, let's say if we get through that inning and somebody hits a 2-run homer and we win that game on Friday night, nobody's talking about the error in the 10th inning. But we didn't, so it really becomes a thing. And you know, Michael's had a couple tough games, but he's done a good job. I mean, I just praised his offense, and I mean, he didn't even have a fielding error until that play at Arkansas, and that's halfway or over halfway through the season. He had a couple throwing errors, but he hadn't even had a fielding error yet. So it's part of the game, you know. And if everybody else is doing a good job, you don't talk about those things as much.
One or two more?
With Paxton, what's some of the work that he's doing? You guys,
Yeah,
are
he's a great kid. He's a hard worker. One of those guys that, you know, just want to grow. Like he's one of those that can almost care too much. You know what I mean? And sometimes that gets in the way of you want to do so well. Like you got to take a little off yourself and just focus on the work that you put in, the plan that you have, and go for it and let it go, because he's a tremendous athlete. But you know, he'll always have a spot here because of the type of person that he is. And then sometimes it takes longer for it to click. You know what I mean? Like I haven't recruited a lot of position players from the state of Pennsylvania. It's cold. You're hitting inside. Like there was going to be a learning curve and a ramp that no talent, can quite make up for. And then as he improves and matures and takes a little pressure off himself, he'll turn the corner at some point. Obviously we would love that to be sooner rather than later, but I have great faith in Paxton.
And with Jaden, you mentioned that he's kind of on the cusp of returning.
Mhm.
Does that mean he's available out of the bullpen this weekend?
We'll see. We haven't finalized the weekend roster yet. I think that's asking a lot. When he hasn't pitched in a game since against Oaks Christian High School in California 2 years ago, but he doesn't look far from being able to do it. And so that's the dilemma right now.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you,
Appreciate
guys.
it.